Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I always liked the quietness of nature, the peace that comes with walking through the trees and into the woods. Also, watching the clear night sky is a very nice thing to do when out in the forest. Seeing so many stars just reminds me of how small we really are, how insignificant is our existence. We could disappear in an instant, and the universe wouldn't even notice. My brother always brought me with him when he went out camping, and that's when I discovered my passion for nature. Now, I just go hiking and camping with my friends, as my brother has moved out of the country. I hope I will see him soon. I really miss spending time with him. I'm worried I won't be given the privilege of doing that, given the situation I find myself in now. But hope is all I've got. If you're reading this, please pray for me. I need that. I won't give specific details about me, as I don't consider them important. I'm a 26-year-old man, and that's the most I can say. I will tell you how I got in this situation, though. I recently started to work as a forest ranger. Everything seemed okay at first, but the fact that they just took me without any interview should have rang some alarm bells. I was desperate for a job, as I have very little money, so I never thought about it. The day I arrived at the cabin was beautiful. The sun was setting, leaving off a dim orange light going through the trees. The weather was nice. You know, your typical clear summer weather. Everything was just perfect. The cabin is almost entirely made out of wood. Classic, I thought. It's big enough for 1 or 2 persons, and it looks very cozy inside. I stepped through the door and put my backpack underneath the bed. I opened the wardrobe and put on my sleeping clothes. As I got comfortable, I noticed that there was a piece of paper on the table, along with a survival guide and a metal crucifix. Something was wrong. I picked up the note and something felt very off about it. I could feel the blood running cold in my veins as I started to read it. Hello, my name is Killian Sutter, and I'm the former ranger who worked here. I don't want to scare you, but this job is not what you would expect. You see, weird things happen here, and they can prove to be deadly if you don't follow what I tell you. In order to be able to survive, this note will be your Bible. The rules I have written for you are the things I discovered on my own while working here. I don't know if this is everything, but it's mostly what usually happens here. 1. If the light bulb in your cabin suddenly starts to flicker, lock the door immediately, close the curtains and turn off the lights. The things will come close to your cabin and will try to enter. Do not panic though, as it will leave if it doesn't find a way in. 2. Always lock the door behind you when you go outside. Failing to do this will result in the thing waiting for you in the cabin, hidden somewhere. 3. If you hear scratching coming from outside the cabin, do not be tricked by your ears. It's not coming from outside, but from inside. Stay still and hold your breath. The thing is blind, and it won't know you were there if you do that. It should leave by the time you count to 10. Rushing through the door. 4. While outside, be as quiet as you can, or it will hear you. If it does, rush back to the cabin and barricade yourself in there. 5. If at any point you get injured, clean the wound fast and bandage it so that you cannot see any blood. The thing can smell blood from far away, and it makes it go into a feral frenzy. Also, change the bandage often. When you do that, throw the old bandage into the fire. 6. Never leave your cabin after the sunset and before the sunrise, no matter what. The thing is much more aggressive when it's dark outside. 7. Before you go to sleep, put the metal crucifix I left you in a direction facing the entrance of the cabin. 8. Set your alarm at 3 a.m. and wake up to check on the crucifix. If it has blood on it, ignore rule number 6 and get out of the cabin as fast as you can and run to the storm shelter. I have marked it for you on the map in the survival guide. 9. Don't try to escape the woods until your contract expires, or the thing will follow you wherever you go. You have been warned. Some situations require you to combine the rules, so be sure to remember them all by heart. Good luck, and keep yourself safe." Fuck no. What did I get into? I thought to myself, many thoughts rushing aggressively through my mind. I was both angry and confused at the same time. I didn't know if the note was a prank or if it was real. Maybe this guy Killian just wanted to scare me, but I'd rather not take any chances and follow what is written on that piece of paper, at least until I realize if it's fake or not. When I was originally hired, nobody told me that somebody left before I was able to get into this. Maybe they knew I wasn't accepting if they told me this. Soon after it was dark outside, I was sleeping, and I almost forgot to put the crucifix to face the door. And then I went to sleep. The next day I woke up and noticed a big scratch on my right arm. It was bleeding. I quickly cleaned the wound and applied a bandage to it. I also threw my shirt and stained bed sheets into the fire because they had blood on them. I froze then. How did this happen? And that's when I remembered the rules. Set your alarm to 3 a.m. and wake up and check on the crucifix. If it has blood on it, ignore rule number 6 and get out of the cabin as fast as you can and run to the storm shelter. I fucking forgot to check the crucifix. I have to admit I was scared. The list of rules was not a prank. Killian knew something that I didn't, and he had tried to warn me about it. I haven't seen this thing he was talking about in the note until now, but I'm sure I don't want to see it. Not after what happened today. I checked to see if the crucifix had blood on it. Yeah, I know, I should have done that hours earlier. It seemed to be fine. So why did I wake up with a scratch on my arm then? What the hell is going on? I spent the rest of the day in my bed, afraid to go outside the cabin to check the woods. Tonight, I followed the rules exactly as I should have the night before. I put the crucifix to face the door, and I woke up exactly at 3 in the morning to check on it. It was fine. The next 5 days were peaceful, and I finally summoned the courage to do my actual job and go check the woods. I was quiet, and I didn't attract any unwanted attention. Those were the best days. I could actually enjoy being out in nature and relax for a while. I felt so disconnected from the troubles in my life. I felt a sensation of peace. It was almost like the rules never existed. Apart from night 1 and the door locking one, I was out there enjoying myself. I didn't miss my normal days before I got the job at all. I enjoyed every last moment of those quiet days, and I'm glad I did, because things started to get bad soon. On the 8th day, I was inside my cabin reading a book while I was in bed, and then I've heard it. Scratching sounds were seemingly coming from outside, but I remembered the rule. If you hear scratching coming from outside the cabin, do not be tricked by your ears. It's not coming from outside, but from inside. Stay still and hold your breath. It will leave by the time you count to 10. I quickly closed my eyes and stood frozen in bed, holding my breath. I could feel the breath of the thing as it was sniffing me. I think it sensed the smell of fresh meat. A quick meal. I started to count. I was able to reach 10 when I heard a loud noise. The thing rushed out of the cabin through the door. I ran and closed it, locking it in the process. And then I passed out right there on the floor. When I woke up, it was almost midnight. Oh my God, I forgot about the crucifix. I quickly rushed to put it back in position to facing the door. Did I fail this rule? Am I going to die now? These thoughts tormented me until 3 a.m. when I checked it, and my heart started to beat fast, so fast that I could tear my chest apart. The crucifix had blood on it, and in a panic I grabbed the survival guide and a flashlight and I booked it to the storm shelter. I could feel the thing following me, getting closer each moment. After a 15-minute run, I arrived at the storm shelter. I rushed through the door and locked it behind me, and then I fell down from the pain I could feel in my right leg. I think I snapped my ankle trying to outrun the beast out there, and my adrenaline kept me running. I crawled into a corner and fell asleep, waking up before the sunrise from the aching pain in my right ankle. I asked myself, how am I going to make it back to the cabin with the snapped ankle? I improvised a walking stick out of a wooden pole in the storm shelter, and I started to hike back to the cabin. I had to get help. I had to do something. There's no mobile service in the forest, and I don't have a landline in the cabin. Also, I'm not a good doctor, and I couldn't do anything about my ankle. As I was walking around the forest, I could feel the things before it was watching me. It was smiling at me. I was easy prey. I couldn't get away from it anymore. My heavy footsteps were leaving deep marks on the ground as I was getting more and more tired. And finally, as I got back to the cabin, I ate something and then thought of something's risky. I planned to leave the woods tomorrow. I knew it was stupid, and I also knew what would happen if I did. It's written in the rules, of course. I lost the flow of time while contemplating on my decision, and soon it was dark outside again. I turned on the light, and soon it was starting to flicker. No, not now. I checked to see if the door was locked, and sure enough, it was. I closed the curtains and turned off the light, as instructed. Shortly after, I could hear it. The thing was outside the cabin trying to find a way in. It started to claw at the walls and smash its body at the door. I accidentally caught a glimpse of what the thing looked like through a small part of the window. It was tall and it had pale skin, like it was made out of snow. You could see the veins in its skin. That's how pale it was. It had long limbs and a big razor-sharp claw. But the most terrifying thing was its head. It was human, but it was missing its eyes. It had big, dark, and empty eye sockets so dark you could stare into them and feel a sensation of plunging into the abyss. I could feel the terrible hunger for human meat this creature had, and I was scared. It wanted to tear at me, rip out my flesh and feast on it. It would be just a matter of time until it could get me. But after a while it left, and I went to putting the crucifix to face on the door. I also woke up at 3 a.m. to check on it, and it was clean. My lucky night. I had to get some rest for tomorrow. I woke up the next day and geared up to leave the forest once and for all. I exited the cabin and started the hike towards the edge of the woods. I was slow, as I was using the improvised walking stick from earlier, as I hadn't eaten for a long while and I was gripping my agonizing hunger. I tripped over and fell to the ground. The noise was loud enough to attract that thing to come to me. I saw it getting closer, grinning its teeth in anticipation. I was done for. Then I heard something in the woods. A very loud growl was echoing through the trees, and it seemed to scare the thing from earlier. Then came a beast similar to this one, running on all four, and the two clashed in a fight. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The monster which came recently scared the other one, which was running like a wounded animal back to the thick tree line. I could see the beast was wearing a torn ranger's uniform, or the remnants of one, and on the badge I could read the name of the wearer. It was written clear and big. Killian Sutter. The thing ran back into the woods chasing the other beast. What just happened? I was very confused until I remembered that Killian Sutter was also the name of the last ranger who worked this forest. Why was he a beast? And why did he attack the other one? I'm grateful that I'm alive, so I picked myself up and continued to hike out of the forest. I arrived at the road and got into my car. I called 911 immediately as I was injured, cold and afraid, and I passed out after. I woke up in the bed of a hospital. There's something crawling at the door, and I know what happened. I broke the last rule. Don't try to escape the woods until your contract expires, or the thing will follow you wherever you go. Now I'm just sitting in the hospital bed, afraid of whatever got out of the forest and is now following me. I can sense its hunger. It wants my flesh, and I know that the door is not enough to stop it. As the hinge got looser and looser, I was prepared for the imminent doom ahead. I accepted the fact that I'm going to die. But I got lucky again. as it left before the door was broken. I feel like it's playing with me, preying on my fear, and I know that I can't do much about it. As I'm writing this, I got discarded from the hospital, and I'm now sitting in my bed at home. I know it's only a matter of time before I see that creature, but this time, I won't run. I'm gonna face whatever the fuck that is. Hopefully, I'll catch it by surprise.